Imagine placing a simple, cheap classified ad in a local newspaper just looking for people to jam with, and accidentally starting a musical revolution that would redefine heavy metal forever. In 1981, a teenage tennis prospect named Lars Ulrich did exactly that in a Los Angeles paper called The Recycler, looking for other musicians who shared his obsession with the new wave of British heavy metal. A quiet, intensely driven kid named James Hetfield answered that ad, and from that awkward first meeting, the raw, aggressive blueprint of Metallica was born. They didn't have money, they didn't have connections, and the mainstream music industry completely ignored them, but what they did have was a ferocious, blinding speed that the world had never heard before. Together with the virtuosic bass player Cliff Burton and lead guitarist Kirk Hammett, they didn't just join the underground music scene, they entirely reinvented it by pioneering thrash metal. Their early days were fueled by cheap beer, crashing on floors, and a relentless touring schedule that spread their music through a massive, underground network of cassette tape trading. When they dropped their debut album, Kill 'Em All, it felt like a tactical sonic assault, blending the speed of punk rock with the complex structures of heavy metal. But they were just getting started, and what came next would change the landscape of heavy music permanently. With Ride the Lightning and the absolute masterpiece Master of Puppets, Metallica proved that thrash metal wasn't just mindless noise, it was deeply complex, emotionally raw, and brilliantly composed. They were suddenly standing on the precipice of global superstardom, proving you didn't need radio airplay or MTV music videos to sell out arenas. Then, at the absolute peak of their underground momentum, tragedy struck in the blink of an eye when their tour bus skidded off the road in Sweden, taking the life of their brilliant bassist Cliff Burton. It was a devastating loss that would have permanently broken almost any other band, leaving an emotional scar that the members would carry for decades. Yet, driven by a mix of grief and an unstoppable work ethic, they recruited Jason Newsted on bass and pushed forward, releasing the complex, fiercely angry album And Justice for All. But as the 1990s approached, Metallica made a radical, highly controversial decision that shocked their core underground fanbase and altered rock history forever. They teamed up with producer Bob Rock and stripped away the 10-minute thrash epics, replacing them with massive, heavy, and undeniably catchy grooves. The result was the legendary 1991 self-titled Black Album, a monumental cultural phenomenon that exploded into the mainstream and spawned timeless anthems like Enter Sandman and Nothing Else Matters. Suddenly, the underground outsiders were the biggest band on the entire planet, selling tens of millions of records and filling massive stadiums worldwide. This unprecedented success brought intense scrutiny, internal friction, and a decades-long roller coaster of immense highs and devastating lows. They survived the shifting musical tides of the alternative rock era, weathered the massive public backlash of the Napster lawsuit, and nearly imploded entirely during the raw, painful recording process of the Saint Anger album, an era famously captured in all its chaotic reality. Through addiction, lineup changes, including the crucial addition of bassist Robert Trujillo, and the intense pressures of staying relevant across multiple generations, they refused to quit. Instead of fading away into a nostalgic legacy act, Metallica constantly reinvented themselves, continuing to release powerful new music like Death Magnetic, Hardwired to Self-Destruct, and their recent powerhouse album 72 Seasons, proving their creative fire still burns incredibly bright. Today, they stand alone as an untouchable institution of rock history, filling global stadiums with a massive, multi-generational fanbase that spans every corner of the earth. From a tiny, desperate newspaper ad to over 4 decades of absolute stadium domination, Metallica didn't just survive the history of heavy metal, they wrote it with their own hands. If you loved revisiting this incredible journey through metal history, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now, smash the like button to help the video reach more fans, and drop a comment below letting me know your absolute favorite Metallica album or the first time you ever heard their music.